Hey and welcome to Neverwinter with Argon. So there's been an update, right? And they went and absolutely nerfed the Air Archon, the one I have right beside me there. And unfortunately, he's no longer going to be viable compared to all of the other at least top 10 companions. Now, I've made a document with over 100 of these companions which I've tested out, mainly just in single target, and I've compared them with one another. As you can see it right here, and there'll be a link in the description to it. Here you have them all listed in alphabetical order, so you can find a companion that you want. If you want to go and look at then the top 10 or the top 100, them listed here in the order of encounter DPS. Encounter DPS is the amount of damage per second they deal within the encounter. So the higher the number, the better the score it is. Basically the amount of damage they can output over time. And you can see the Cold Iron Warrior doing a whole ton of damage there. Now, just a reminder, with all of these tests, my stats were as follows that you can see on the document. I had about 80% power, accuracy is also just over 60% with combat advantage, critical strikes about 77%, and critical severity is about 72%. This is when I'm buffed up, as otherwise it's pretty hard to get these stats on a healer. And so with those stats, I've went and tested all of these companions on a dummy, a single target dummy within Icewind Dale, so they can only hit one target. So we went and tested this Air Archon, and unfortunately it is now only dealing just over 13,000 encounter DPS. That is like 33% of what it originally did. Its major attack power was its spinning strikes like that there, but that is no longer effective whatsoever. They completely reduced its effectiveness, and I don't know why. However, that led me to go on to test the other top 10 companions. And so I retested the Black Ice Prospector, still dealing over 28,000 encounter DPS. Then we have the Cold Iron Warrior, still dealing over 33,000 encounter DPS. Same with the Eladrin, just over 23,000. The Githyanki, nearly 26,000. The Honey Badger, which is one I went and tested recently and I'm adding to the list, at 27,500. Pretty neat. Jagged Dancing Blade there at the 22,000 mark. And we can see I went and retested the Kuatua. Now you're going to have to add in an additional 20% damage there because of its bonus when you're within a full party. And so this got up to about 22,000 as well. And then we have the Owl at nearly 25,000 and the Pseudo Dragon at nearly 28,000. With the Tomb Spider at nearly 25,000, and then that was it. And this is pretty much a list of the top 10 we have there. So we have the Cold Iron Warrior in the number 1 spot, then Xuna, the Black Ice Prospector, the Pseudo Dragon, the Honey Badger, the Gith Warrior, the Tomb Spider, the Owl, and the Eladrin, with finally being the Jagged Dancing Blade at that 10th place. But you can see he's very similar and close to the Vicious Direwolf and also the Kuatua, so any of those will do if you have them available in your arsenal. Of course, you will ideally want the Cold Iron Warrior or Xuna. Xuna is really good for both single target and AoE. The main reason being is she has her Bloodbath ability, which when we go and summon her and we summon this monster here, she'll go and attack him when we go and activate combat and do that Bloodbath and dash around and absolutely slaughter him. And we can see that again when we summon her out of combat there. There we go. And let's say we summon 6 of these guys. We summon them all here. As soon as one's going to hit me, as soon as it's going to start doing her Bloodbath, as you can see, she just slaughters all those dummies, and that's what she does in AoE. And in single target, she's very effective as well due to her total encounter DPS there being on single target at nearly 29,000. About 4,500 encounter DPS lower than the Cold Iron Warrior, but nonetheless, she makes up for, especially when you're running a dungeon, for that extra AoE damage that she'll deal compared to the Cold Iron Warrior, which will rely on all the targets being like really closely grouped and him doing his spinning steel strike at the right time. We can summon him right here. We can summon a bunch of these mobs. He'll initially just start doing his at will when one of these dudes hit me, And you can see he can do a fierce amount of damage with that at will, which is nice, but his major power is when he starts spinning, which we'll see in any moment now. There we go, absolutely just slaughters them all. But you can see it takes quite a time for him to actually get there. And he's not the only companion which has that drawback. The Black Ice Prospector is similarly lacking due to that ability of only doing the spinning at a very late time in his rotation from the start of his fight. He's first going to do a load of those at-wills, killing off guys, but then he's going to, after about 15 seconds, start spinning. So it's a significant amount of time, and thus he's only useful in single target, but his damage is nonetheless similar to Xuna if you have those long duration fights. Overall, you can see I've added the Honey Badger to the list, which I managed to obtain. It wasn't exactly cheap, but we did it and we got it tested. Again, all of these, don't worry, I didn't actually test them in this arena, as it's pretty useless without a dummy which doesn't have an infinite health pool. You can see these guys will kill your companion, along with your companion will just kill it. And once it kills it, then the fight's over and you're going to have to either summon him again, and that breaks up the fight and thus throws off the results of the fight. And so you can't really use this arena other than for like burst damage, and it's barely anything you can test it for. There are definitely different options here you can do with setting the item level, and it's handy of course to have a dummy or guy who's going to automatically hit you. So this Honey Badger just has a lot of consistent damage over time, which put it in that spot there of 5th place. So if you can manage to get him from the Zen store and you want to run him as single target, he's pretty decent if you can get him at a cheap price. But of course, you ideally want to get a Xuna or a Gold Iron Warrior. Very unfortunate with the nerfing of the Air Archon. It is what it is, and I, like you guys, am very annoyed that they don't actually state these things in the patch notes. That's the very least thing they could do. Or at least they could go and admit they messed up and introduce a bug where now he's dealing a lot less damage. Because we don't know. Was it intentional on their part to go and reduce its damage to, as we can see, all the way down here in the 60-second spot here on my list, down there at 13.4 thousand encounter DPS, got absolutely smashed. And it wasn't the only one that it happened to. It happened to the Mercenary as well. I don't know why. Perhaps they might reduce all of these companions that are performing pretty well down to those similar values. Maybe that's what they want, as they did introduce your Dritz, your Catibri, your Bruner, your Wolfgar, and they're all similarly pretty low at about 14,000, 12,000, and even 8,000 encounter DPS down there. Maybe they want all their companions down at that level and not have the ones excelling as well as they do. I don't know, and I don't know what they're up to. So again, I'd like to give a special thank you to all of my channel members for helping me keep my channel going. And if I presented this well, consider leaving the video a like, and if you're new around here, consider subscribing. We'll see you guys around. Goodbye for now.